2,
3, 4,
5,
6.
When most people think of religious persecution, they think of people being thrown to the lions. They also think of people being burned on the stake, or they think of people who are being starved out in prison camps. But the truth is that religious persecution goes much further than just physical persecution. But we also see it in political persecution. And we've actually been able to see this a whole lot more recently, and it's very personal and hits close to home for us here in Houston. Because over the last few weeks, there's been a case that's been going on between the mayor and several pastors and a new city statute that was put in place. So in this speech, I'm going to go over Todd Starnes' article in Fox News called "Houston Mayor Drops Bid to Subpoenas Pastors' Sermons," published on the 29th of October 2014. And in this article, he goes through and talks about a series of events where a city statute was posted, and then several pastors didn't like what they had to do according to the statute, and so they fought back against it and said that they weren't going to abide by it. And then the mayor came in and told them that they had to do that and put subpoenas on their sermons and told them they had to turn in their sermons because they didn't want to abide by it. And then a bunch of Christians rallied around these pastors, and then the subpoenas were removed later on. So I'm going to go through what those things happened, why it happened, and why it's important for us to make a stand and to support pastors and to stand up for our own rights as Christians, and why that is very important. So to start off, the statute which started it all in section 17/51b states that it shall be unlawful for any place of public accommodation or any employee or agent thereof to deny any persons or entry to any restroom, shower room, or similar facility if that facility is consistent or appropriate to that person's expression of gender identity. And what that means is that any person who wants to identify themselves with a certain sex can go into that sex's bathroom. So for instance, a man, if he thinks that he better identifies with a woman, can go into the girl's bathroom without being charged or without being fined for anything, and vice versa. Now, pastors rebelled against this because they thought that it was against their religious beliefs, and they did not want to have to allow somebody to go into their bathroom if they believed something different, or because they believed that their sex was different. And so they rose up and said that they were not going to compromise, and they weren't going to allow people to do that in their churches. Because of this, Berenice Parker, she put a subpoena on the pastor's sermons. And what this was is any sermon that they had preached over gender identity or even over the mayor and political things, they had to turn into the mayor so that she could review them. Now, this review was much more than just her trying to find out information from these pastors, but it was a public proclamation of her stance against these pastors and for her fight against or for the gay and lesbian people and for those things. So, for example, one of the pastors said that these subpoenas are just one front in a rapidly developing conflict. And the philosophy underlying this conflict is that sexual liberty trumps everything, including religious liberty. And you could see that she was practicing her personal opinions over this and trying to push her own agenda onto the pastors and onto the other Christians who would have to abide by this in Houston. And the whole statute was originally so that people could have equal rights. But we can see that this is not having equal rights. This is forcing opinion on somebody who did not believe that beforehand. So after the subpoenas were ordered, many members of churches and lots of pastors gathered together. They rallied around. We were actually able to see a huge Christian movement. And Brittany Hughes from CNS News says that this year, more than 1,800 pastors across the United States have participated in Pulpit Freedom Sunday, an annual event hosted by Alliance Defending Freedom that advocates for pastors' rights to speak on politics from the pulpit without fearing or losing the church's taxes status. We were able to see that so many people came behind these pastors because they saw the need, and they saw that their own beliefs and their own freedoms were being infringed upon. So they supported these pastors and came alongside them. And because of this large-scale resistance, according to Eugene Volkers, said that the subpoenas were dropped because she felt too much stress and too much pressure, and so she just put it off on the side. Now, this is still on a hot topic. This case is not solved, and we're in the midst of it right now. And so what I want to charge us as Christians to do is to come up and support these people. We need to understand that as Christians, especially here in Texas, we actually are a very, very large group of people. And our opinion really does matter. And we've been weak for too long, and we've been silent for too long. And so I want to challenge all of us to, whenever we realize that our beliefs are being challenged, to stand up and not be afraid to speak for what we believe is right, and to really just stand and trust that the Lord's going to do what he needs to do. I'd like to end with a verse, which is 2 Samuel 10:12. And it says, "To be strong, and let us fight bravely for our people and for the cities of our God, and that the Lord will do what is good in his sight." Thank you. Now open up for questions.
So, one of the things I understand that statutes state is that also they have access to the restrooms and the showers. Is that correct?
Yes. Any public facilities, if you're at a gym or anything where there's gender, usually you have a guy's bathroom, guy's locker room, girls' bathroom, girls' locker room. Whichever one they felt like they could identify better with, the statute said that they could go into either one and not be charged by anything.
Or not asked to leave, right?
Yeah, or asked to leave.
So, a man dressed as a woman, if he so chose, could take the opportunity to walk into a woman's restroom or a shower room or whatever at their free will.
And he doesn't actually have to even be dressed, I think. Is that correct?
Whichever one you would want to go to, I don't even think that they can ask what you want or what you actually are, what you believe. If you feel like this is where you want to go, this is where you can go.
Yeah, so you don't have to be dressed. You can just, if you state that you feel that you're, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing, as far as the subpoena, that did stop, correct?
Right now, the subpoenas are on pause. They've been put to the side, but they were still there. So right now, they're not in effect. The pastors don't have to turn in anything, but she's still pushing for things, and she's still fighting to get her agenda passed. So we still don't know what's going to happen. So that's why I ask us all just to stand and fight for the pastors. Count off.
So how long is a subpoena considered legal?
I'm actually not sure how long a subpoena is considered legal.
1, 2,
3, 4,
5.
6,